Welcome to Club E. Hi, I'm Rick Brimacombe of Brimacombe and Associates. I am your architect of business growth, and I will work with you to unlock your potential and amplify the scale of your company. Today, we are talking about rebuilding business in 2021 with strategic marketing. I want to thank our sponsors, Irish Titan, an e-commerce and web development firm, Highland Bank, a locally owned community bank, Romaine Berg, a digital marketing agency. And for those of you who have listened to us in the past, to participate in the comments section, you go to the YouTube channel and you can put your comments and questions in there, and we will get to those to the best of our ability. Also, while you're there, please hit the subscribe button and hopefully the like one as well. All right, we'll wait just for a moment or two while you do that. Just so you know, you can catch Clubby on your favorite podcast platform as well: Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and many others. All right, with that, I'd like to introduce today's guest. Welcome, Marnie Ochs-Raleigh, CEO of Evolve Systems. Welcome, Marnie.
Thank you, sir. Great to be here today.
Yes, and Marnie's contact info is also in the comments section. But if you want to write it down, it's Marnie, M-A-R-N-I-E, at evolve-systems.com. And Marnie, let's just start with a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to, a little bit about your company, family, all that stuff.
All the good stuff. Well, I'm a Minnesota girl, so I've been here for 50 years now. Love it, although the cold is not as much fun as you get older. And like several of your previous guests, there's a lot of farm that's in my background. So that proves with a lot of hard work as well. I'm a sixth generation entrepreneur. And I know that sounds really crazy, but it's just in my blood. I tried working at corporate and it just wasn't a good fit for me. So I had the opportunity to grow up in a family business, and it was just a real thrill to be able to work with my dad every day. And it was a manufacturer's rep agency in the commercial construction materials world. So I got to sell everything that went on the outside of a building and for the commercial space, and got to call on architects and engineers and general contractors and subcontractors. So I really learned quickly how to think on my feet. I think there was one other woman that was in the industry at the time, and the two of us certainly had different experiences than what somebody would have today. And growing up in that family business, it really taught me that you have to dedicate that time to be excellent. And I can remember being just starting out, being so young and working in the warehouse and putting together different catalogs, and then manufacturing different colors for cement that needed to be applied on the outside of buildings, and then working my way into the office and in an administrative role where I was responsible for answering the telephone. And I hate to date myself like this, but that was prior fax machines and cell phones. And so if there was a issue out on a job site, we would have contractors calling in, and I would need to go and dig through all the technical documents to learn what the details were for those specifications. And I had inadvertently trained myself on how to be doing a lot of these different product lines. So as different people would go on vacations or would transition in and out of the company, I found myself wearing multiple hats, as most people do in a small business, and learning how to build a commercial construction building. So I was there for over a decade, and in that time had carried around a hard hat and steel-toed boots in my car, and was doing job inspections and working with inspectors. And it was just it was a really fun time. I mean, and that was in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and we had a great time doing that. But we learned that having small children and working full time was an awful lot, and we decided that we didn't want to have a nanny living with us anymore. And so at that time, after baby number 3 was born, I decided to step out of the workforce for a while. And my husband was working at Control Data, and he was in their financial vertical and was very successful with that. And as Control Data was going through their mergers and acquisitions, he was given the wonderful opportunity to move out to Wall Street. we could not imagine raising kids at 2, 4, and 6 at that time in New York. And so we took advantage of an opportunity and started our own company. So that was Evolve Systems. And it's nearly 2 decades ago. So it's been a really interesting ride. When we first started the business, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be a little bit more recession proof. Never in our wildest imaginations would we ever have thought to do something for a pandemic, but it certainly worked out. And we had taken a lot of research and information from the Gartner Institute, and they had at that time said that e-commerce was going to be the way to go. And that was right during that time when I joke because it's when fax machines went from the round paper to uh, plain paper fax, and that's how we were all doing business. And so to me, it was, the internet's going to be changing things, but we really couldn't have imagined back then where everything would be at now. It's funny, when we started business, Facebook hadn't even been invented yet. And now we have a specific part of our business that focuses in on utilizing Facebook to help business owners grow. When we first started, we really focused in on e-commerce, and we knew that that was going to be a focal point for how commerce was going to happen. And we needed to put our business together from the standpoint that it was technical in nature, and that was where Don's expertise came in, but then also doing the business development and the business management, which is where my skills and strengths came in. And we learned how to quickly divide out what our area of strength and expertise was to rely on each other for that. And we built the business with 2 different verticals. One is the Evolve Systems, which is now our agency side of the business. And then the second was Evolve Payment, which was the merchant card processing. Because when we started back then, banks were not able to understand how to be able to get money to be going through websites. So we knew if we were going to have a really great customer experience end to end, we needed to be able to be providing both of those services. Well, what happened was Minnesotans weren't as curious or accepted, or they weren't as accepting to be purchasing things online. So we ended up working with clients that some didn't need to be selling anything online, but yet they needed merchant services for their counter or for their shop where they could accept those Visa, MasterCard payments. And then other people were very interested in figuring out how to go online and how to be doing digital. So it was a real interesting growth time while raising 3 small kids. And we made sure that our company was set with the right family values that we needed to accompany what the lifestyle was that we wanted to participate in with our kids. And Don is my husband. He's famous for saying that he didn't miss any sporting events of the kids. And I think that's, one of the goals that every entrepreneur wants to have. Now, today, Evolve Systems is known as that full service digital marketing agency. And we really enjoy helping businesses to grow and to thrive. And we do that by providing a suite of digital services that includes branding, design, website development, and digital marketing, which includes search engine optimization services, pay-per-click, and some very specific strategic plans to be able to help business owners grow. And our true goal is to really help business owners to understand what the ROI is needed from their marketing so that we can provide them with really good data so that they can be making those business specific strategies and get that return on time that we all are wanting to add back to our lives. So we're continuing to work and improve and elevate ourselves as well as our clients. And our goal is to be known as one of the premier agencies here in the Twin Cities serving the B2B space in the mid-level market area. And we're having fun doing it.
So the theme of family, started with the beginning of your story there and finished up. Mm-hmm. So just real quick, let's go back to the beginning. Do you remember how old you were when you started hanging around your dad and his business?
I can remember my mom being mortified that when I was 7 years old, I was knocking on the neighbors' doors trying to sell them weeds that I had pulled out of the ditch. So I think that's probably the first inclination that I just have that business gene running through me. I started working with my dad. I can remember he went off on his own, and he was having me put together catalogs in the garage. And at that time, I must have been 13, 14 years old. And I can remember doing it in my bathing suit. And I'll never forget friends coming over and asking, "Hey, let's go and swim in the pool." And I'm like, "No, I gotta take care of this for my dad," and send out proposals and that type of information. He ended up purchasing another company and had a physical location. So I started working in the warehouse when I was probably 14 or 15. And I can remember before I had my driver's license, trying to figure out how to be able to get to work and working my schedule around when he was going into the office versus not going in. That summer of my 16th year, I was able to drive, and I was full time working and assisting in the warehouse. And it's really funny. One of my daughters, Zofia, she works in the transportation area over at Cargill, and we were talking about some of the different trucks that they have to work with in their South division. And what was funny is she's talking about these trucks. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a reefer rig, and you have to use the forklift, and this is how you have to do it." She's like, "Mom, how do you know that?" And I'm like, "I have unloaded more reefer rigs with pallets of material than you can even imagine." So it's funny to see the journey that I've been able to have, and to really learn how hard work has to be a part of that success. And you just dig in and you do what has to be done.
So you talked about your husband Don being able to get to all the sporting events.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's many pros and cons to a family business. Talk a little bit about your experience with Evolved Systems as a family business, and kind of the pros and cons as you see them.
Yes, there are a lot of pros and cons, and it depends on, where the business is at in its cycle. I'd like to think that some of the pros are that, we are able to work together and we do get along. We've been married now for 30 years, so that's a long time. And people have often asked me, "How is it that you can do that?" And my question back to people is, how can you raise a family and do a business and not work together? I mean, there's times where he would come in early and I had the schedule in the morning to get the kids off to school, and then he would be able to leave early to get home to them, and then I would come home a little bit later. So we had that flexible schedule. So I think one of the pros is having a flexible schedule and making sure to be able to put those priorities down. Hindsight's always 2020. Looking back, you see things that you wish that you would have done differently, and then you see things that you're like, "I did a really good job with that." So I think some of the pros are being able to have that flexibility, but it also puts a little bit of stress on it, because with both Don and I being 100% committed to the same bottom line, that also means that our household income is based off of the same bottom line. So I think that it could be, racked up in that con section that you're all in. And a lot of business owners don't have that type of stress because they rely on another spouse to be able to be providing a different income, whereas we didn't have that. So that also goes into, the pro of being that you're both dedicated and you're both are working towards the same goal, and you're delivering and understanding what that looks like. And in that pursuit of excellence also means that the con is you conversations around the family table or on a Saturday morning revolve around different clients or different work that needs to get done. And so it's difficult to separate that business and family life. One of the things that we started to do years ago was, even though our office is only 11 miles door to door, is we drive separately. And people think that's a little odd because we're going in the same direction. It's like, no, you need your time alone. But we use that as a separation. And so when Don takes off a little bit earlier than I do, his greeting is, "Have a great day at work." And then when I get in, the first thing that I'll say to him is, "Hey, how was your night?" And so we have this staged, and it seems like a funny little game, and we've had people overhear it, but it really helps us to be able to separate what the roles are between work and family, and to keep that balance, because there's different roles that we each play within not only the family but within the business, and we have to complement those roles rather than bump into each other. And I think it's a good thing to understand and respect each other's qualities with that. we have the opportunity to have our son working with us now. And I will never forget the year that he came home from spring break at college and said, "Hey, Mom, did you know we have a family business?" And I'm like, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do." And he's like, "I think I'd like to be in that." And we had never talked to any of the kids about becoming a part of the business, but his strengths just fall right in line with it. And he's been with us now for several years. And he's an excellent ambassador of our brand. And he does a great job in the community representing us. And he's a hard worker. And he knows what it takes to make it work. And it's been fun watching him be able to become friends with some of the same people that I've been able to work with for all these years and yet have completely separate relationships with it. So I think that's a long drawn out answer for, it's different pros and cons, but we have a book in the working, and there's different chapters there that will be coming out. And one of the chapters is called From the Boardroom to the Bedroom, and how to make that separation, because it is difficult at times.
Yes, yes. And I've had a bunch of interactions with your son, Don, over the years. And yes, he is doing a good job for the company and acting as a brand ambassador. So I agree with you.
Thank you.
All right. So COVID certainly has thrown a wrench into a lot of different things. Put aside anybody out there whose family has been impacted from a health perspective, but from the business side, tell me how you successfully pivoted your team and improved the culture, even though everybody was working in their own home.
Sure. So we have a team that we've worked with in Croatia for well over a decade, and Croatia is right next to Italy. And so they started seeing some of the effects of COVID prior to what the United States had preview to. And ironically, in 2019, one of our initiatives was to really understand what our working remote policy was, because that was that winter. 2018 was that winter where we had like 6 or 7 really crazy days where it was like snow and cold and nobody wanted to drive in it. And it was tough. And we want to keep our team as safe as possible. So it's like, what's the understanding? We need to be really clear about this. And we use traction, and we really follow that traction discipline to hold all of us accountable, starting at the top. And one of the rocks for 2019 in Q4 was to review, revisit, revise our working remote policy so that it was very clear and people could feel comfortable about it. So we had actually rolled that out at the end of the year. And then when we had gone through and made software enhancements at the end of the year with everybody's equipment, we had made sure that everything was remote. So I guess you could say that we were visionary as far as being prepared for that. But when we did make the decision to be sending everybody home, we were so fortunate. Our team, we all came together at noon. I remember it was a Wednesday, and this was prior to knowing anything, any of those details that were going to be happening. I think we initially thought it was going to be maybe a month that we're all going to be remote, maybe a couple months. And, here we are almost a year later. But the team was able to go and grab whatever it was that they needed and transition to their home offices. All of our work, or a majority of our work, is online, so it didn't necessarily affect us. And we were back up and running within 2 hours. And because we knew that we were going to miss out on that interaction, we have a collaborative work environment here. We all have our swim lanes that we are masters of. And so there's a lot of that collaboration going on. We implemented daily check-in calls to where the entire team was on. And at first, everybody was a little scared. So at first we were doing it twice a day. And it was a significant investment in time, because all those meetings, you add up the salary and the time, those meetings get very expensive. But I think it's the smartest thing that we did, because not only were we able to stay on top of what all of the client deliverable work was, but also to really be there to support each other and encourage mental health and talk about positivity, because the news was certainly negative at that time. So we've done quite a bit of work this last year, and I'm happy to share our culture at our company did a 180, and our culture is the healthiest that it's ever been. One of my mentors is famous for saying, never waste a crisis. And when this situation was first coming ahead, I had a conversation with her, and she reminded me, never waste a crisis, Marnie. What is it that you want to change that you haven't been able to? What is it that you want to embrace that's going to make the most significant impact? And we made that list. We did our scenario planning. We had 3 different scenarios that we had developed, and we executed quickly and very concisely and communicated with our team above anything that we would have normally done in the past. And it really pulled us through. I mean, we did a complete pivot, and I'm so proud of our team. They've done a phenomenal job for our clients.
Great. So COVID impacted certainly your company and the culture, and you did some stuff to improve that. What about the effect on the success of a business and that business remaining financially healthy? Talk a little bit about how marketing can help rebuild businesses.
Well, marketing and sales need to go hand in hand. They really do need to work together. And there's usually friction between the marketing department and the sales department. And for a company to remain successful, you have to have those sales coming in. And so it really is about putting together that strategic marketing plan that's going to be supporting the sales efforts to make sure that there's alignment within that area. And marketing can be supporting that when you're able to really identify and hone in on that ideal audience and be laser specific. So there's a lot of marketing tactics that will be more of a shotgun approach, where you just throw something up there and you hope that it sticks or that it draws something in. But with COVID, we really need to be specific on focusing in on that one thing, and what is it that we're going to do really well with that? What are we going to master? And then what is going to be the next thing? So, I mean, we could have a 3-hour conversation specifically about that, but I think that's the thing that we need to really pay attention to.
Okay. And then a reminder to everybody, if you're in YouTube, you can submit questions there. Happy to try to weave those in. We do have multiple questions here. What about maybe, I guess, let's start with a question from the audience, maybe a little bit more on maybe an example or 2 of where marketing can help rebuild a business.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're looking at rebuilding a business, you have to look at reimagining what it is that you deliver and what is it that you can add to make sure that you're going to be able to, hit those budget numbers, and what little things are that you can be doing that's more future looking than what is current. And so we always like to start specifically with the website, because we consider that to be the backbone of the company. And that's your 24/7 online billboard. We've heard that term for years and years, but it's even more true today than what it was before. And so understanding and making sure that the website is delivering what those current messages are. And then as you've reimagined your business, I mean, we've talked to so many different business owners that they've pivoted their entire production line to go from manufacturing a car part to manufacturing ventilators. Or we've seen people that have been able to turn around their distillery to making hand sanitizer. How do you then market that? And how do you position yourself as that market leader? So sometimes it's even needing to take a look at what your current brand is and refreshing your brand to make sure that your ideal audience is still the same, and putting together the strategy and executing on that strategy.
All right. Like I said, we got a number of questions coming in here. One of those questions from Zach. Zach was curious about how geography plays into SEO and the impact of geography on what you might do from an SEO perspective. Talk a little bit about that and kind of the local, regional, national footprint, and are there any differences of things that you might do?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish our SEO specialist was here to answer because he'd be able to give you a much better description. It sounds like this conversation could be a nice long one as well, but really focusing in on what it is that you do and where your ideal clients are. And if you're wanting to get the maximum amount of value from where your business is, focus in on an area and own that area. Do that market research. We've got some clients that we work with that we know their business industry is shifting and changing, and their clients have changed. Which states have been open versus which states have been closed? Which states have got more financial security that's going on because of them being open, and focus in on those. Like for a restaurant operator, Minnesota is not the place to be focusing those marketing efforts on, but yet right across the border where they are open, that's a really great example. So you have to be strategic. So it's not just about what are some of those marketing tactics, but it's about where's the market thriving, and to be focused on that. And again, that laser focus to get what the priority is. Now we're seeing things change so quick. I mean, take a look at the Super Bowl that's coming out. How many different businesses that you would normally expect to be doing that broad national type of advertising have pulled back those marketing dollars and aren't doing Super Bowl commercials, because they understand that it's not, marketing is not the same today as what it was 10 months ago. Marketing has to be very specific, and it has to be relationship, and also that emotional tie. And we've seen brands make those pivots time and time again. So having that detailed plan is going to be critical for doing SEO specific. And there's ways to do it regionally as well as nationally that go right to that ideal audience.
All right. So speaking of a plan, given all the dynamics of what has gone on over the last year or so, what do you think about business owners doubling down on their marketing going into 21?
Yeah, it's important to do that. And we see companies that are trying to reimagine themselves and reallocate money for their budgets. But if we take a look at how all of our individual lives have changed so much. I mean, Rick, you and I are doing a Zoom session right now where normally we would have been in person at lunch at the Club E luncheon. And so you yourself have pivoted. So this is a perfect example of that. And so the budgets need to be addressed to be able to double down on marketing. So when we take into account that trade shows are non-existent right now, that lunches and dinners are changed, and everything is on Zoom, how is it that you can change that marketing to get to people when we know that they're all online? And people are not wanting to go out shopping as much. They want to be able to purchase online. So is there a product or is there a service that you can make it easier for your ideal audience to connect with you? And so that's one piece of it. The other piece is to understand that we really need to have more touch points with clients, and that in turn leads to different marketing pieces. So that's even reimagining what your sales cycle looks like and how you're communicating with the clients, because you're not seeing them at these different meetings, but yet you have to remain front and center. There's a gal here in town, Hillary Fetter. She has Hillary's Gifts, and she does a fantastic job with re-engagement. And I have received 4 or 5 different little packets of sweet messages that have been inspirational with a gift that it's like, that's right, that's Hillary. So you're not only just looking at how you can communicate with your clients online, but offline is just as important. And making sure that you've got those messages that are following your brand voice and really investing in your brand so that your brand is standing alone online. So it's not related to a business owner or a salesperson. It's about your brand. So it is necessary to double down now, because it's more than important. I can remember we used to have to convince business owners that they needed a website, and now it's reminding them that that's where all your clients are. They're all online. You need to make sure that what you're displaying matches everything all those services, everything that you can do for them to help them grow their business.
Yeah, Hillary's great. I've worked with her personally, and she also has spoken at Clubby in the past. So love
Mhm.
Hillary. Hillary's Gifts, a friend of the Clubby community. So anybody out there looking to engage with their customers at a deeper level, you can seek her out. Speaking of longtime participants and past speakers, Julie Keys sent in a question, and it kind of
Mhm.
dovetails into our 21 doubling down on marketing. What about the business owner who's thinking about selling this year? How can marketing be helpful to that transition?
Oh, God bless Julie Keys and her business Keys strategies for helping business owners learn how to transition out of their business. I think the greatest value there that she can share is helping to prepare a business so that they understand how to be adding that enterprise value back into their business. And we know what that enterprise value is, but we really have to take a look at from that marketing standpoint, and that's specifically what she's asking about, is understanding that we really are in a new era of how to be doing businesses. And we've got a lot of business owners that have gone through a recession. They've now gone through a pandemic. They're tired. What is it that they need to do to re-energize their business? Because as a business owner, you anticipate that your retirement funds are going to be coming from the sale of your business, but yet business value has certainly changed because of this pandemic. And so understanding that mindsets and this new era that we're in really is about structuring that business so that you can add as much value back in, and marketing helps with that by the plans that you put in place and putting together that strategic vision. And sales used to be generated, and a lot of them are normally by the business owner, but we're not out doing networking events. And so that networking needs to be happening all online. And so creating that clear vision so that a business owner can be adding that value into their business now, and making sure that companies are focused in on that. And they can do that by adding marketing automation. And they can do that by establishing all of their processes and looking at how their sales process has really needed to change because of our different living conditions that we have right now, and putting together those messages so that all the marketing that you're doing is helping to do more predictive analysis, which then in turn adds additional value onto your bottom line. Because if you have a strong marketing plan that is providing that value, that's giving you that ROI, that's where you can start to look at the additional value that's added to the company as well. Because not only do you have the current income that you are generating, but from looking at a solid sales funnel of what is coming in. And when you're using a marketing program or a marketing automation program to help manage that, like a CRM combined with marketing automation, we work with a program called SharpSpring. It's very affordable. It's easy to get into. It doesn't take a lot of setup time, but it gives you so many tools. And when we're talking to business owners that they're doing business as normal, and we introduce some of the efficiencies that they can gain, being able to invest in marketing that you're going to feel comfortable about is part of that, part of our brand promise. It's like that's giving you that return on time because the process is established, and you can use those drip campaigns to be making, instead of having to make the phone calls, the drip campaign is reaching out and hitting people, and it's just keeping people moving through that sales funnel. So when you do have those processes established, the business owner can exit and feel confident that the new owner is going to be able to manage, and the expectations are all there. The KPIs are established, and you're able to manage that data.
So a lot has changed. We've talked about a number of things that are changing and evolving given COVID. Talk a little bit about the marketing landscape as it relates to the attention from targeted audiences.
Well, targeted audiences goes to your ideal audience. And that really starts again with the website and making sure that you've got the right copy that's on the website. So copy doesn't only have to be specific for your ideal audience. It has to be specific for Google. So getting the keywords that are into that copy, keeping it clear and concise, and target those specific industries so that when somebody is using the old Google machine, that the right information is coming up and it includes yours. And making sure that you understand what that sales cycle is so that you can be writing specific content that pulls in the SEO that will deliver that information is perfect. We've got people that'll come to us and ask for, I need a pay-per-click campaign. It's like, okay, so we can do a pay-per-click campaign. That works great. That will get you exactly what you're after. But what happens when somebody comes to your website or to a landing page that's built for that? Is it going to convert? And does it have the right call to action information on it? And then what is your follow-up process? What is your sales process to be converting that? So you have to be very specific in those ideal audiences and what you're doing.
So again, a reminder to everybody, you can submit questions in the comments field of YouTube. Got a couple more here. One was about, you mentioned ROT, return on time. It's a big thing for your company. A question came in about that. Maybe talk a little bit about ROI and ROT, how it fits together, and why that should be important.
Absolutely. So we're in the process of elevating ourselves as any other business does. And we were really looking at what is it that our vision is, who are the clients that we want to work with? Where do we align with the best? And a resonating theme was return on time. And there's so many marketing companies that don't provide the details on the services that they do on a month-to-month basis for clients. And so we make sure that when we're working with clients that they're getting a monthly report to be showing, here's the information that we've done, here's the amount of time that it was, and here's how we're able to help you move your company forward. And what we know is that business owners, we're all wearing multiple hats. We're all extremely busy. And you ask an entrepreneur, what is one thing that you wish that you had more of? And it's always time. People want more time, and they want more time to be spending it with their family. They want more time to be spending on things that they enjoy doing. And what our commitment is that putting together a marketing plan that's very strategic, that they're aligned with a team that they can trust, that when the team says that they're going to deliver a specific thing, that they do that. Suddenly the business owner is able to have a solid relationship, and they are able to take that step back and know that they're getting more time back because what is being promised is being delivered, and the results that are being gained from that directly goes back to what that ROI piece is, because we're all in this to make money. We're all in this to be able to make a difference. And when we know that we're providing that value, we're giving them time back to be able to do what exactly it is that inspires them.
Yep, I agree 100%. Totally with you. All right, so we've looked backward a couple times here over the last year, COVID, how's it impacted things?
Mm-hmm.
What about looking forward? How do you think marketing is going to change going forward if, say, you look ahead maybe a year or two? How do you think the marketing environment changes?
Well, I think that we're going to see even more things that are online. I think that we're going to see more technologies that are going to emerge. We're going to see more opportunities to work with different apps that are about time management. We're going to see a lot of different people being innovative. I mean, this is a very innovative time because we've all had to take that step back because of a pandemic and reimagine what it is that we're going to do. We want to make sure that there's that opportunity that's going to come with more people being online. We want to make sure that they understand how all of the technology works. I mean, some of the technology there is now being monitored in different ways than what it was before. We've seen different things with censorship. And how does that affect a traditional marketing plan? And we see technology driving more and more things. I mean, I think everybody now has got an Alexa in their house. And so there's very few businesses that have even started to advertise with that. We see smartwatches coming on the scenes. How does cruising on a website look on a watch? I mean, where is that coming from? voice recognition. We see voice becoming more and more important with all the different descriptions of products and images. And then that layers on the ADA compliance aspects. So you can't just build a website and think that it looks pretty and have great stock images. You really have to think so strategically for not right now, but really where business is going in a year from now and all of the different nuances. I mean, suddenly it's not just about the brick and mortar store that you used to shop at a mile away. Now it's about gaining clients that are in, different states and in different geographic areas, and how do you communicate with them, and how do you make it easy for your clients to engage with you? Because it used to be more about relationships, and then it got to be real technology driven, and now it's back to relationships. And we're all just, we're hungry for that interaction. How do we do that using technology so that it still feels warm, and that we're able to utilize that but yet be efficient as possible? So a year from now, 2, 3 years from now, marketing is just going to be more and more online, and we're going to continue to get inundated with digital versus traditional.
Good point. What about, again, in the spirit of looking forward, how do business owners continue to build enterprise value in the environment we're in over the next 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you really need to take a look at what your sales process is, and then identify from that sales process what pieces of the marketing strategy is going to support the sales process, and what adjustments need to be done with that. And then utilize marketing automation, like a program like that SharpSpring, to be able to really manage all those contacts. That enterprise value is so important for business owners. We all look at our bottom line. We're pulling our P&L. We're looking at, what opportunities do we have, and how do we make that more stable? I mean, I think that people entered the beginning of 2020 thinking that it was going to be one type of year, and we exited it with a completely different version. And business owners, to add that value, instead of having those year-long plans that they put in place, you're going to have to be a little bit more flexible. Establish a 3-month plan. Keep it short, because we don't know what's going to be coming next. And put that 6-month plan in the works, but focus in on the 3-month plan. And you want to be as proactive as you possibly can, but it's tough right now. So adding that enterprise value is just really getting those systems in place that the business owner isn't needing to be the primary person that's doing the business development work, or you're not relying on the salespeople that you've had for years and years to be building those relationships. So invest in your brand, invest in the relationships that business owners have with their clients and their future clients in a different way, because times are changing. We've got different generations that with different buying habits, and you need to embrace that. Otherwise, that value is just not going to be the same. You're going to have people looking at how to buy a client base rather than buying a process and a system and future revenue.
Makes sense. I agree. So reminder to everybody, you can submit questions in the comments field of YouTube. Had a question come in talking about specific examples or clients that you had where the strategic marketing was a benefit to them. So maybe a case study or specific example.
Oh, sure thing. So one of our clients is called Glenn Cronkite and Torpedo Bags, and they're here in Minneapolis, and their primary business has always been to build the beautiful bags to be carrying musical instruments. So think high school marching bands, orchestras, that along that line. And they were able to pivot real quick to be able to come up with custom designed bags that would go over the end of a trumpet or a saxophone or any type of wind type instrument, to be able to keep people safe. And because they're able to sew a lot of their different products, they also started making face masks. And so their whole plant was turned completely inside out. And in needing to help them pivot, they hired us to work specifically with some pay-per-click things for them. And I've got some statistics here I can share with you. Within the first week of doing some Google and Facebook ads, the average click was like 433 clicks per day. We established a program, and the second week that it was there, their average went up to 645. So, I mean, those are some pretty significant results. The ad campaigns brought in 2 to 3 times more sales in revenue as compared to any of their other marketing that they had done in the past. In 1 week, the sales generated from the ads covered their operating costs of the business for the entire month. And in total, and this is a smaller company. I mean, this is their business warehouse was right down in the middle of where we had some civil unrest. But the ads that they spent, and their budget was not that large, but the ads that they spent produced over $180,000 in sales. Those are significant results for business owners. And it's not just the business owner that it affects all of their employees and their families. So we get really passionate about being able to make a difference like that. So when you see those types of results on a business that you can assist them with, our entire team just gets really excited about it. And one of the things that we started with COVID was a gratitude circle. And this relates back into it because each week we still huddle with each other as a full team, and we go around and we share what the client success stories were that have come in from this last week. And then we also express that gratitude that we have for each other. And we want to make sure that as we're in that collaborative environment, there's things that team members work on that I'm not privy to it. And they have no idea some of the things that I work on day to day. And so it gives us the chance to be able to express that gratitude. And then we have stories like what happened with Glenn Cronkite. I wish you could have seen the look on the faces of the other team members when they're like, yes, we did that. And just knowing that the team is so invested in our clients, it really makes our job a whole lot more fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to circle back to your father, kind of finish up where we started. Obviously, he had a significant impact on you. Was there any specific kind of lessons that either he verbalized or he taught you just by doing them, by his actions, that as you look back on were important to your career?
I would definitely say yes. And he just recently passed away. So there's been a lot of time for reflection with that. But, he was always famous for saying the worm always turns. And it used to frustrate me so bad. But really, it means that if you follow your true north, if you lead with integrity, if you make sure that you do the best job that you can do, that the other noise that goes on that may be a distraction is not going to matter because it's going to go away. And just to never give up. I can remember different situations on projects that we used to work on where it seemed like things wouldn't go together. The engineers weren't working right with the architects. And I mean, there was just issues with different building situations. And it taught me how to think outside of the box. It taught me how to ask questions to help problem solve in ways that relates back to a technology and a marketing agency in ways that are just phenomenal. And he always had a laugh for something. Nothing really bothered him. I didn't understand that until now that I'm older, I get it a lot more. But he used to just say, Marnie, don't worry about it. Marnie, it's all going to work out. Tomorrow's a new day. And it's so true because we are going through this pandemic. And there's been so many times where I'm like, oh, Dad, I wish you were still here because I want to talk to you about this. I mean, today is not fun. But I reflect back to the words that he shared. And he just always would say, failure is not an option. Pick it up, sweetheart. You need to move on. And that's what we've done. And we continue to live by that yet today.
Yeah, well, wonderful words to remember your father by. So thanks for sharing that. All right. So as we kind of wrap things up here, is there one key takeaway from our conversation today that you think the audience should take with them maybe it's something that you want to re-emphasize. Maybe it's something we didn't get to, but if there was one thing that you wanted the audience to take with them, what would it be?
Not to give up. I mean, everything right now outside, all the noise that we're hearing it's hard to take. And just keep your focus on identifying the strategy that's going to get you through it. Focus on the thing that's going to work. And if you can't get to that, work with somebody. Help, talk to somebody about getting what that focus is and get your strategy done. And you have that clear vision of where it is that you want to go, and every day work towards that. And just know that you can be on a winning team when you surround yourselves with other people that are wanting to get through the same type of situation. 2021 is going to be fine. And I think that we've got a lot of people that are still nervous about that, but business is going to go on and we will be successful. And just remember to take a deep breath and to count your blessings, and each day start with positivity.
One day at a time, right?
One day at a time. Yes.
All right. So want to thank you again, Marnie Ochs-Raleigh. Thanks for being here. Evolve Systems. Marnie, if somebody wants to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Absolutely. So our website is evolve-systems.com or evolvepayment.com. And my email is Marnie, which is MARNIE, at evolve-systems.com. Or they know how to get a hold of you, and you know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have interacted on a couple of projects this last year, so look forward to doing more of that going forward. And I hope you'll join us again.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much. It's been fun, Rick. I appreciate the time.
Good. Thank you.